Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Okay, j-fallon, and this is the slippery slope. So I had a couple of stories I wanted to go through. So this story came out just the other day. A protest went on, pro-Palestinian protest down in the south. So a former Greens candidate, it kind of says it all. You could almost finish it there and say, well, Greens candidate, there you go. Posted a video from her hospital bed where she says she may lose vision in her right eye following her arrest at a protest in Western Sydney, blaming draconian protest laws for her injury. Nothing to do with the fact that she's out there protesting against something that's really she shouldn't be protesting against. It's realistically, it's not her fault. Draconian laws. Hannah Hannah Thomas, who stood for the Greens against PM Anthony Albanese. Crikey, it's the one time you've got to say you're glad Albanese won. Anyway, in the seat of Grindler at last month's election, was arrested and charged with four others after protesting outside a business in Sydney's southwest on Friday. New South Wales police are now facing questions over whether they used new powers aimed at stopping protests at places of worship to justify breaking up the pro-Palestinian demonstration. It's interesting what they've done to get in. Anyway, Thomas was left with a serious eye injury that required surgery. Posted a photo of herself there in video. I think I'm 5'1". I weigh about 45 kilos. Well, I would suggest if you're that tiny, don't go to a protest, you clown. I was engaged in peaceful protests. I would be betting against the whole peaceful thing. Anyway, she was engaged in peaceful protests. That's what she said. In my interactions with New South Wales police, that's left me potentially without vision in my right eye permanently. Thomas said in her Instagram, I look like this now because of Chris Minns and Yasmin Cately and their draconian anti-protest laws and their attempts to demonize protesters, especially protesters for Palestine. Seriously, if you want to protest for go to flippin' Palestine and protest from there, not in Australia, you clowns. They've emboldened the police to crack down with extreme violence and brutality, and they were warned that those laws would lead to this outcome. The group was protesting outside SEC Plating, which they say supplies plating services for F-35 jets used by the Israeli Defense Forces. For crying out loud, they're not the only nation that uses F-35 jets. And surely a business is allowed to supply some plating, for a jet. It's a business. What, no one is allowed to do any kind of business because you are upset with a war that's going on. So you think that it's okay for people to go in and kill innocent people at a music festival, but then that nation's not allowed, according to you and your logic, to defend itself. It's not allowed to go back and try and rescue its people. It's not allowed to do anything in its own defense. It just has to sit there and suck it up. What kind of logic is this? And then you're whinging when you get injured. The company is opposite the Tibar, however you pronounce it, whatever, Islamic Association Mosque on Lakemba Street in Belmore. Well, that's the issue when you've got a mosque. Seriously, anyway, I can't say it. Thomas, 35, was charged with hinder or arrest police officer in the execution of duty and failed to comply with direction to disperse. She will appear at Bankstown Local Court on August 12th. On Sunday, New South Wales Police Assistant Commissioner Brett McFadden decided against declaring a critical incident, which is defined as one involving a member of the police force that results in the death of or serious injury to a person and would require them to investigate. Speaking to 2GB Ben Fordham on Monday morning, McFadden said he had reviewed the body-worn camera, which informed his decision. Our police are asked to do difficult things every single day of the week, and in the information available to me, there's no misconduct identified, and I back the actions of my police. McFadden said Thomas had denied requests to be interviewed by police and for access to medical information. Well, if you don't want to be interviewed by police, what do you want? You want everything, but you don't want to give anything. There's been no contact and no information, but doesn't mind posting things on Instagram. Can make the complaint there. No contact, no information about the nature of the injury she actually sustained, McFadden said, adding that while that is Thomas's right, he could only make the critical incident decision based on the information available to him. Uh, A police fact sheet for one of the other protesters seen by the Herald cites a place of worship in a document describing the arrest. In New South Wales, police are not allowed to issue move-on directions for general protests unless they decide it presents a serious risk to persons' safety, is obstructing traffic, or after the changes introduced by the Minns government this year is taking place near a place of worship. Well, it was happening near some kind of mosque, wasn't it? So the document states police attended the protest on Friday morning after receiving intelligence via Instagram. I love the old Instagram intelligence via Instagram that a group called Weapons Out of the West could hold an unauthorized protest at the Belmore business. At 5:50 a.m., a person was seen walking past the business and communicating via a group chat. After confirming they were attending a demonstration, police said the person was issued a move on direction on the basis the unauthorized demonstration would cause fear and alarm. The group, the fact sheet said, had a history of violent disruptions outside of the SEC plating business. They were initially arrested but then released after indicating they would comply with the direction. However, the police fact sheet then says the person walked across the road to the opposite side of SEC plating, which is a place of worship. At that point, officers approached the protester again and informed her to comply with the move on direction. Due to the accused being given repeated warnings and opportunities to comply with the direction, she was cautioned, placed under arrest for failing to comply with the move on direction. The reference to a place of worship has sparked serious concern among civil liberties groups and legal experts who have repeatedly warned the laws are overly broad. Overly broad. Well, you put yourself, sorry, love, you put yourself in that situation. You go and you decide you want to protest, unauthorized protest. Okay, so you obviously haven't lodged any documents or done anything like that. You were probably fine at the start while you were standing outside the business. But when, you're told to move on, you're given these directions, you're given this direction, you need to follow the direction, and then you go and place yourself directly in front of the place of worship. Well, then the police, so the way I read the way the law is, they are certainly within their rights to put those charges or, be able to move you on, be able to arrest you because using that law. You've put yourself in the position, what more do you want? And then the fact that you don't want to give any more information, you don't want to interview the police, you just want everything your way. It's like the whole protesting against Israel, protesting against this business. You want everything your way. You don't want to look at what Israel has endured, what's happened to them. You don't want to acknowledge the people that were brutally massacred for no good reason. No. It's just all about, Israel. Israel are now going and fighting Iran, or Israel are doing this. Well, because Israel aren't allowed to do anything. So you're in this country, you're protesting, you got arrested, you got injured. That's the price of doing business, love. Sorry. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Got to quickly get down. I thought this was very, very interesting, okay? IQ Showdown explodes. Gen Z scores compared to Gen X. I am proud Gen Xer. Thank you very much. In jaw-dropping study that leaves no room for doubt. I thought this was very interesting because you look at it and think, I've always wondered how much damage is, kids just sitting in front of their front of the iPads and the phones and that all the time. Because honestly, you have conversations with some of these kids, and unless they can look it up on their phone, it seems like, and I'm not even talking like kids, like young kids. I'm talking like the 20-year-olds. They just Sorry if you're watching this and you're a 20-year-old, but it seems like they don't know anything. If they can't look it up on their computer, on their phone, they've got no flipping idea what you're talking about. In a groundbreaking study that challenges long held assumptions about cognitive advancement, a researcher has revealed a surprising decline in averaging IQ scores across several countries since the 2000s. What's come out since the 2000s? The iPhone, bang, sparking urgent discussions on the environmental, educational, and technological factors driving this unexpected trend. They, because you need to exercise your brain, exercise it in thinking, deductive reasoning. If all you're going to do is just look up, that's why, mate, AI is going to be the worst thing for this world because people just won't think. They won't think for themselves at all. The comparison of IQ scores across generations has sparked fascinating debate. A recent study by a researcher scrutinized the cognitive performances of students from the 1960s and those from the 2000s, challenging the widely held belief of continuous cognitive progress over time. This analysis not only sheds light on cognitive trends, but also raises crucial questions about the future influencing these changes and their implications for future generations. So, what's it saying? In the 80s, scientists identified a global trend where IQ scores were consistently increasing in industrialized nations, known as the Flynn effect. This phenomenon described an increase of approximately 3 IQ points per decade, particularly evident between the 50s and 90s. And lo and behold, j-fallon came along, smack bang in the middle, and it all went way up. I'm joking. In In France, a study comparing students from 67 to 82 showed a significant improvement. There you go, me in the middle, especially among those who pursued further education. However, this upward trend has gradually stalled. From the 2000s onward, several studies have reported a reversal of this trend. The psychometrician, I hope I'm saying that right, my goodness. Psychometrician, who conducted the recent comparison, anticipated ongoing cognitive advancements. Contrary to her expectations, she discovered a marked decline in performance. In France, the average IQ dropped from 102 in 1990 to 98 in 2016, a decrease of 4 points over 26 years, surpassing the gain documented between 1967 and 82. That's huge. This trend is not unique to France. In Norway, analysis of 740,000 conscripts showed a decline from an average IQ of 102.3 in 1975 to 99.4 in 1991. Denmark and the United Kingdom have reported similar patterns. According to Marc Lefranc, a neuropsychologist at the Cognitive Research Center in Lyon, the shock was not only in the average but also in the distribution. Some profiles have literally plummeted. A portion of the potential seems to be going untapped. It's going untapped because children, they don't think anymore. They just literally look it up, but they don't. There's no reasoning, no thinking about how you get to an answer. It's just find the answer. There's no researching going on. That's my opinion. A decline linked to environment more than genetics. The decline in average IQ since the early 21st century is not attributed to biological mutations. Researchers point to a combination of cultural, educational, and environmental factors. Among these, increased exposure to endocrine disruptors is frequently mentioned. My goodness. These compounds found in the air, water, and food may impair brain development by interfering with thyroid function, which is crucial during the early stages of neurological maturation. Additionally, changes in educational and cultural practices play a role. Educational reforms have focused on democratizing degrees, sometimes at the expense of academic rigor. The average IQ of high school graduates, once evaluated at 100, has reportedly fallen to 88 for those born after 1995. This shift is partly attributed to broader access to diplomas without a corresponding increase in academic standards. Digital usage also contributes to this trend. My opinion is it contributes a lot more than they are admitting to. The omnipresence of screens from a young age limits time spent on activities like deep reading or verbal dialogue, both associated with lasting cognitive gains. Finally, social disparities persist. An INSEE study, INSEE study indicates that a student's average IQ still varies significantly depending on their father's occupations. Occupation 112 for executives compared to 94 for laborers. This statistic questions the true effectiveness of the educational system in reducing cognitive inequalities. Look, my personal opinion, like I said, in this is that we spend so much time just looking at computer screens and we don't have to research topics ourselves. We don't look it up. Young people just tend to just Google, see the answer, look at Wikipedia. Yep, this is it. How many times have I read stuff and then you realize this has just come straight out of Wikipedia, or this is just the very first answer that comes up if you go and look something up on Google or some other search engine. This is what happens. This is the answer that you get, and they've just used that first answer instead of actually researching and citing that research where it's all come from, instead of coming to their own conclusions. So if you don't have to research things, if you don't have to think things through and come to your own conclusions, if you're not exercising your brain like a muscle, like you do exercise every other part of your body, if you're not researching things, your brain's not going to get stronger. It's not going to get better. You're not going to be able to think as well for yourself. Personally, I think this is why our IQs are going down. Last story that I want to look at. Now, listen, what's happened here in Queensland. So, Queensland Labor opposition claims the state's public servants have been issued a strict directive not to include acknowledgements of country in email signatures. The Shadow Minister for Reconciliation, Leanne Enoch, I believe that's Leanne there. I think I might have worked with her brother, maybe. Anyway, Leanne Enoch tabled a partly redacted document in question time on Thursday, which reads, how's my IQ? Which reads, departments are no longer permitted to add additional departmental branding elements such as the First Nations acknowledgement. I'm not. They're no longer permitted. No longer permitted. We're not going to let you make up your own mind. We can't give you any kind of freedom. You're not permitted, just not permitted. Enoch said the document was sent by a whistleblower within a government department and prohibited modifying standard signature blocks in any way. It prohibits it. Where Enoch is one of two Indigenous members of Parliament, both of them Labor MPs. She said the decision was an insult to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Under this Chris Foley LNP government, we've seen a systematic attempt to erase Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people from all aspects of government life, and this is just another attempt at doing that. Look, I'm not a big supporter of the acknowledgement of country anyway. I've got to be honest. However, I do believe that you should have the freedom to put it in if that's what you want. If you want to do it, when you're signing off on an email or whatever, well, then, hey, feel free. It really does grate me when a government body, when someone in authority decides, well, no, I'm going to restrict, I'm going to go and tell you all what you can and cannot do. I'm going to stop giving you permission because apparently you need their permission to, in the way that you sign off on an email. I'm going to prohibit you from signing off on an email the way you want to sign off. You cannot sign off unless you do it the way we want, the way I want you to do it. What kind of draconian kind of government institution are we running? Are we running here where we dictate how you sign off? Like I said, I'm not even for the indigenous acknowledgement. I'm not a fan of it. However, we shouldn't be dictating how other people can and cannot sign off on their emails. It's ridiculous either way. You can't be dictating that they should do it, and you shouldn't be dictating that they can't do it. People need the freedom to make up their own mind. But why is it we always think, whether it's, the Liberals or the Labor, they always think that they have the right to just dictate to the other group what they can and can't do. Has anyone ever thought that maybe people should have the freedom of choice and freedom to do what they want to do, especially when it comes to personal things like how you're signing off on an email? As long as you're not swearing at people and using language that's extremely offensive or something. Why is it that all our governments always think that they need to come down and just restrict, prohibit people from doing these things, make up laws, make up new rules to dictate what people can and can't do? Why is it always goes down that route? Always. It just blows me away. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, the kind of censorship that we always go down every time. It's like none of our governments can be trusted. They always feel the need to just go down the censorship route and just dictate what you can and can't do. Absolutely disgusting. It's very uncalled for. Like I said, I don't even agree. I don't even like the acknowledgement of country or anything like that. But if you want to put it on your email, well, then go ahead and put it on your email. If that's what you want to do. And quite frankly, I think the whole, I try and acknowledge everyone from every country in the whole world that's ever been here in Queensland. What kind of farcical rubbish is that? Anyway, hey, this is all just my opinion. It feels like the world's falling apart. That little wannabe politician from Sydney who participates in an illegal protest and then gets injured and then blames everyone else. Seriously, lady, I'm sorry. You go and put yourself in harm's way. You're a tiny little thing. Maybe don't go protesting about things that really aren't your business. Anyway, this is all just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Be really interested. We just... Oh, Australia. We really just seem to be falling apart at the moment. This is all just my opinion. Let me know what you think. I'm j-fallon. Thanks for listening to the Slippery Slope.
They just fuel the desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna stop me now. No more deals to be done. No nothing's gonna just focus on the goal. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Nothing's gonna hold me down. Got my eye on the prize. Got my eye on the